So strategy one, I call the phone mail phone strategy. This is a traditional approach, but the idea is you want to do this in a very focused approach. Remember, it's not like you need to bring on 50 clients to make the money here. We only need to bring a handful of clients on board to start generating good quality revenue for our business. Okay, so what I do is I normally create a 4 to 7 page document or a niche report. Okay, or if I was a graphic designer, I would create a mini portfolio for that niche, right? With ideas, things that are relevant that they can use in the industry, and what they can use those ideas for, right? Now, you don't necessarily have to create this information. If it's a written report, you can get publicly licensed information that is relevant to the niche. All you need to do is Google free PLR reports for niche markets, and there will inadvertently be some collateral material out there that is relevant to the niche you're trying to contact. Right? Yeah. So what you want to do is you want to use that material because it's publicly licensed. You can actually put your name to it and use it. Okay, and you can edit it, and I never take the information, verbatim. I'll actually check it out and make sure that it looks good, and put my own editing in there to improve the information piece. Right? Now, here's the thing that most people don't do. With the strategy, I want to call the person I'm going to send the information to and ask them permission for me to send it to them. I just want to explain why I do that. If I just willy-nilly send out a piece of information to somebody, whether I just email them blind or I do a direct mail campaign, what invariably happens is we are so busy, our attention spans are about 4 seconds. If I see spam, if I see a direct mail piece that looks like some form of promotion or offer, it goes in the bin or it gets deleted. Right? Yeah. I don't look at it twice. So one of the ways that you minimize this and you get a much stronger conversion rate is if you call the person you're sending the information that is relevant to them, ask them permission if you can send it to them. And the reason you're asking permission is you're looking for feedback on the information you're sending. You're not wanting to do anything to them. You're not wanting to sell anything to them yet. You're just making a connection. To have a friend, you've got to be a friend first. Yeah. Okay. If you take this approach, it's a much softer approach, and it's a lot easier to get in the door. Right now, I can ring anybody with this strategy, and then ask them, tell them why you put the report together, why it's relevant to their industry, and would they like a copy of it. Most people, and I'll give you some stats on this. In an hour, if you did 20 dials, you probably end up speaking between 5 and 9 people. Of the 5 and 9 people you will speak to, you will send out between 3 and 6 reports in an hour. That's the rate. That's the rough ratio. The reason I know that is I've taken a consultant who's never done this in their entire life, has never been a consultant, and they're doing this strategy right now as we speak. And in the last 2 weeks, they send out 5 reports per day. It takes them about an hour and a half. They've got 40 prospects now to follow up for feedback. In fact, in the last 2 weeks, yeah.
Are these posted or emailed, or is there a best way to send it?
You can do it via email because you're asking them to read it, or if you create something nice, you can actually put a cover on it. You can actually you can personalize the cover to the person you're sending it to. You can get it printed on decent stock. Now with digital printing these days, you can get things like this done pretty cheaply. And remember, we're not sending out thousands of them. We're only, we're looking at connecting between 30 to 50 people at the most. So the hard cost of this, if it's email, there's very little cost. If you're going to produce the report so it has some tangible feel about it, and let me tell you, I've done that as well. I've created magazine style reports which look fantastic. Yes, it stands out from, you're standing out and you're wanting to get feedback. There is more value in sending a hardcover report. When I say hardcover, with the paper size, 350 GSM, go to a digital printer, your local Kinko's or photocopy center, and they can produce a report, a 4 to 7 page report. You're probably looking at about maybe $2.50. Yeah. Right? It's not very expensive. With digital imaging these days, it's pretty cheap. Okay, and you can make it look pretty snazzy. And with the inside pages, rather than standard A4 80 GSM, I normally ask for 120 to 150 GSM, so it gives the paper a very thick weight quality. So it looks really cool. Okay. It's nice and shiny too. So what you're doing in this process is now you've got to ring them up and get feedback on their reading your information or viewing your information on how it's relevant to them. So what you're doing is you're building rapport. you're going from a cold situation to a very warm situation very quickly. Okay. Then what you do is you offer a consultation, or you offer a presentation, or you offer a strategic focus session to help them engage or help them benefit from the service or product that you provide the market, their niche market. Okay. Here's the thing. This is probably going to dramatically improve your conversion rate to actually selling something to this niche market. What I do is I never actually ask all the questions that I need answers to at the consultation or the presentation. I never do that, because what happens is you're elongating the sales process. In my sales process, what I do is I ask questions prior to going to the presentation. So I actually let the person know, look, before I sit down with you, do you mind if I give you a call a couple of days beforehand, just 20 minutes of your time, where I can actually get specific information about what exactly it is in terms of your objectives are when it comes to this sort of offer or service. Most people say, yeah, sure, you can do that. So when I call them up, I then ask all the questions I need answers to. What are your objectives? What do you want to achieve in your business? What sort of increase are you looking at? What's the average dollar sale of a customer? How important is the internet to your business? What sort of revenue now can you attribute to your activities currently to the internet? Are you seeing a decline or an increase? All these questions I can get answers to. What this allows me to do is to build a plan or a program that I can take with me to the consultation or the presentation. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, based on our conversation, Bob, these are the things that you said that you wanted, that were important to you, that you'd like to target or focus on in relation to the service that I'm talking about.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So now when I'm sitting there, I've got their plan. Now, I didn't develop the plan. They developed it, because Bob told me what he wanted to achieve. So my program is aligned with exactly what he wanted to achieve, and I'm making suggestions on how to improve that or make it even better in terms of my strategy. Okay?
Yep.
And at the end of that, at that meeting, I'm asking Bob to buy. I'm saying, based on what you've seen, I guess, the best thing we can do now is to go ahead and make that happen for you. Right? Now, if he says I need to think about it, that's fine. But what you've got now is you've given Bob a price for the project. You already know what you're going in there to sell, because you've got all the information you need up front. Now all you've got to do is convert the sale, and that is just to ask the person to say, this is what you said you wanted, here's the plan you helped me create. I guess all we've got to do now is implement it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we invite them on board, and that's the phone mail phone strategy. So there's 7 steps. Yeah, go on.
Is there a chance at that point they could kind of take all that work that you've done and then sort of go and talk to other people about it, or have you built enough of a relationship by that point to make it yours?
I don't do quotes. I don't do explorations. An implementation plan or a program is not a quote. It doesn't look like a quote. It's talking about their objectives, how you're going to achieve their objectives. Your price point is not a broken down element of your deliverables, because if you break down your pricing, then you make it look like a commodity. Then they can take your program or your plan, go to a competitor and say, can you beat that? Right? Yep. But if I take value-based pricing and then build into this as part of the strategy, well, another web developer isn't going to talk about strategy. He's going to talk about website.
Yep.
He can say, I can build this, but he doesn't know why I'm putting in conversion strategies or conversion structures. He doesn't know why we're actually sitting down and monitoring consistently and making adjustments to the marketing plan of the actual website, so that we can track and measure responses and adjust accordingly to increase our chance of getting better sales.
Gotcha.
A web developer doesn't do that, right?
Yep.
A web developer wants to design a pretty looking website that looks like a great business card but does bugger all for the client.
Yep.
Client thinks it's great because it looks pretty, right? But what I'm talking about is a website that's actually going to make the money that they're actually after. Targeting that to their audience, making sure the audience got the right information, connecting the dots, I guess, to help their clients buy or engage them easier. So that's not a regular website. That's a strategically focused website. That's why they cost a little bit more money. And that's why people are willing to pay more for them, because you're not sitting there saying, I'm going to build you a pretty website and it's going to look great and you're going to look fantastic and the people who come to your website are going to love it as well, but nobody's ever going to find it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm talking about the value and the outcome that the client wanted, and that's the differentiation. So in most cases, no, I never ever get comparative quotes, because it's not a quote, it's a plan. Yeah, it's their program, it's their plan, it's their strategy. So it's about, what they wanted to achieve was more clients that will invest more money, that will come back more often to their business, which is what they want, and they're willing to pay for it, because I equate that to the relevance of what the market's worth to them, what the lifetime customer value is. So if I can ask somebody to pay $30,000 to $50,000 for a website, because it's worth that.
Yeah.
So that's the first strategy. That's one simple strategy. The second strategy is a social media strategy. This is for the people who find it difficult to pick up the phone and say hi to a stranger. Okay, I love this strategy. You wouldn't know it, but I'm an introvert. Okay. I'm a very shy guy, actually. I hide behind a podcasting microphone. But what's the saying? I've got a face that's spectacular for radio. Yeah. So with this particular strategy, with the social media approach, this is a great one, because you can really target niches very specifically, and you can find decision makers easily. Now, with social media, because of the nature of the platform, people find it less invasive or much easier to accept a connection through social media than they can through somebody picking up a phone and calling them. Okay, so to give you a perspective, what I would do is I use Twitter and LinkedIn to find people that I want to target. And so what I'm looking for industry-specific groups. Now, there are if you Google Twitter subscriber lists, glass manufacturers UK, I'm sure there is somebody who's got a Twitter list that's got glass manufacturers in the United Kingdom. Right, so that's very location specific, right? Or it could be a subscriber list Twitter printing companies. I'm sure there is a list of Twitter lists of printing organisations that communicate on Twitter, right? So it's very easy for me to find the list, and it's very easy for me to follow. It's also very easy for me to engage and connect with people when you subscribe to their list. Generally, if you follow someone, 70% chance they'll follow you back, right? So now you've got a direct connection. Now with LinkedIn, if the way to do this is to go to the groups. So what you want to do is find an industry-specific group. Make sure it's an open group, because an open group is easier to apply to get in. You just join the group. It's open. Anybody can join. And what you want to do is, in the actual niche group, on the left-hand side, there is a search bar. Now I can actually search the group based on job title. And the person that I want to speak to, and I would imagine that most of the people listening to this want to speak to, is the managing director or the owner, right? So all I do is type in, let's say I'm looking at financial planners. So I'm in the financial planning list of the Greater London area. Okay, that's the group that I'm focusing on, and they might have 1,900 members in that particular group, 1,900 members. Now remember, I don't need 100 people to speak to. I only need a handful. Right. So if I type in, the person I want to speak to is a director. So their title would be director, because that's the title I would use in LinkedIn as to identify their position, or owner, right? Or founder. So I would type in founder London, and then it would go through and search out and show me that there are 34 founders of financial planning groups in London.
Yeah.
Now, as a member of the group, I can connect with those members and invite them to be a connection to me. So what I'll do is say, hi, I loved your website, I liked your blog post, or I thought what you said was interesting. I'm in the same group as you. Can we connect? Right? If you compliment somebody when you want to connect with them through LinkedIn, 9 times out of 10, they're just going to accept the connection. People get that the idea of LinkedIn is a business connection, so they're going to check your profile out. And this is one thing with social media: make sure your profile is aligned to the niche that you're trying to focus on. So, in the summary section, talk about how you add value to the financial planning niche if we're targeting financial planners. Okay, so. And you can change that anytime you like. You can change niches. There are several niches that I focus on, and I will adjust my profile accordingly to the niche that I go and target. And so in doing that, now I'm going to invite them to connect, right? And then they'll generally connect. Now, what I do is when they connect with me or accept my invitation to connect, I will write a very short email, 1 or 2 paragraphs, and in that email I will ask them a very specific question. And I'll say, look, I talk to businesses all the time in your industry. What I'm really interested to find out, I just need your help. What is your opinion of the most important thing in relation to the internet is to your business in terms of marketing your business? What do you think is important, or what do you think some of the challenges are in terms of marketing on the internet for your industry? Right.
Yeah.
So it's one question, right? I generally find that if I've asked that question and I've said thanks for connecting, most people, probably about 70% of the time, I'll get a response with an answer of what their opinion is or what their personal understanding is in relation to the question that I'm asking. So then what I want to do is I send them a quick email saying, hey, I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to send this through to me. Just to clarify this, is it okay? What's a good time for me to give you a call? Do you mind if I just ask you one more question on how to clarify this a little bit more? Or do you mind if I ask you a question to get your opinion on what you think about whatever, right?
Yep.
It's amazing that 50% of the people, I'm still amazed to this day that half the people, based on that invitation, come back to me and say, look, John, I'm really busy, but you can call me on Thursday at 3:30 in the afternoon next week.
Okay.
Okay? Now, guess what I've just done?
Set up a meeting.
Yeah, I've got an open door to ask any question I want now. I can find out a little bit about them, ask them about their industry, what their needs, what their wants, what their opinions are, how do they do what they do, and start to build this relationship with them, one that is of value rather than I want to do something to you. Okay, and then you can take them through your sales process and start to generate an outcome for yourself, which is engage them as a customer. Okay. So social media is a very fast way to connect with people. I'm using a strategy at the moment where I'm targeting certain centers of influence, people who actually can refer me to their clients, or I'm looking for industry leaders in specific niche markets where, whether they be speakers or consultants, where I can add value with what I do to their clients. And let me tell you, it is really easy to do. It's amazing when you start helping people out how they try and find ways to help you out too.
Yeah,
it's a really simple way to get clients. Just to give you an example, last year I did this strategy. In a 4-week period, I picked up just over $42,000 worth of clients out of LinkedIn and that's 3 clients. So $42,000 from 3 clients in 4 weeks just by using this strategy. Right. So the third and final strategy, there's so many that I can share with this group, but I know we're kind of running out of time here, or I'm going over time. The third strategy is to attend industry events. This is another way of really taking a low, non-threatening approach to introducing yourself to people, especially within a niche. Now, if you're in a niche market and you go to an industry event, you're generally going to sit at a table, and at the table is going to be anywhere between 8 to 10 people at that table. You're one of them. So there's 9 people that you can hand your card out to and ask questions of and introduce yourself and find out a little bit about what's going on at that event. So lunches, breakfasts, dinners, courses, seminars, conferences are great. I'll give you an example. A few years back, I targeted the cosmetic surgeons industry, the plastic surgeons industry in Australia. They have a national conference. And they have a national conference that was in an exotic location in far north Queensland, and they allowed non-members of the industry to come to the event. Right now, to go to the event was $1,500. Yeah. The accommodation in this place was like $400 a night, so it was pretty pricey. Airfares, to spend 4 nights at this place, I was looking at about $4,000 in total to go to this event, including the registration. Before I registered, I'm not a plastic surgeon, by the way, just to make that clear. I know nothing about the plastic surgery industry other than what I've read. Okay, or the conversations that I've had with plastic surgeons. Okay, but the people that are attending this event now, plastic surgeons is a huge dollar value market for a customer. Okay, so they need websites. It's very visual. They need strategy, targeting, educational processes, a whole bunch of strategies on how to engage and convert their prospective customers. Average sale to a plastic surgeon at the low end, $8,000. At the high end, $150,000, $200,000. right? So big customers. So you don't have to do too much to attract sales to generate an outcome for these guys, right? So I rang the president of the Plastic Surgery Association, who was obviously going to chair this event. This would be like a chairman. And I said, look, this is who I am. I'm doing some research on the market. Is it okay if I come to your conference as a non-member? And do you mind if I, just listen to what you've got to say and just understand what you guys are doing? Because I'd love to write an article and a bit of a report on the group. Now, the president said, sure. Come along. I'm paying full rate like everybody else. Now, I wasn't interested in sitting in on the actual presentations throughout the conference. What I was interested in is making sure that I attended every breakfast and lunch and sat amongst the people that I wanted to do business with. I had a captive audience for 4 days. Right?
Yeah.
That conference yielded me well over 6 figures.
Wow.
So it cost me 4. I walked away with more than 6. Right? So understand that when you're sitting there for 4 days with the high target market, they're going to ask you questions. You're going to say, what do you do and where are you from and how are you, how are things going for you? And then they start to ask questions, say, it's pretty unique. What is a non-plastic surgeon doing at a plastic surgery conference? So this is the sort of thing that would come up in conversation by attending this event. Okay, you want to dress appropriately. Your first impressions count. Prepare a pitch for the group that you're going to talk to or with. You want to make sure that you're looking to have plenty of business cards, and make sure your business cards explain or articulate what you do for people. So use the back of your card. I'm a big believer. Front of your card, branding, let people know or connect with your message in relation to them. Back of your card, make an offer or let people know what you do to help them. That's what I would do on a business card, right? So my business card is a sales tool. Okay, and let me tell you, I have half a dozen different styles of business cards because I can very quickly produce them I actually produced a business card for that plastic surgery event.
Yeah.
That's saying that I was an internet marketing specialist for the plastic surgery industry.
Okay.
Because that's what I was.
Yeah.
For that time. So I set a goal of how many people I want to connect with when I go to an event. I find a center of influence and I get them to introduce me around. Now, one of the things that I always make sure I do when I go to an event, especially if there's a presenter speaking, I will always introduce myself to the presenter. Right? The reason I do this, I just want to say how great a job they did in the presentation they delivered. So I give them a compliment, make them feel good, get a bit of an ego, and I hand over my card and I get their card. Right? Because this person talks to your clients or your prospective clients. That's why they're speaking to this particular group, right? So you want to gain information, find out how to engage those customers. What are the ins? The best people to speak to are the people who actually already service the market. And let me tell you that it's a great way of opening the door to getting in those markets. The other thing is I always make sure that I will introduce myself to the host of the event. It'll generally be the chairman or the president or the person running the event for the particular group that I'm attending the function for. And that's purely, here's my card, and I'll let them know what I'm doing there. Even though I'm not a member of the association or not a member of the group, I just want to make sure that I have a connection with a decision maker, okay? Because that person can introduce you to a lot of people, right? Yeah. So you've got to think of your approach. The other part of this, the method to this madness, in terms of generating clients, is that I also look at the sponsors of the events as well as centers of influence. Now, a sponsor of an event will always tell you exactly what's going on, right? They give you great industry research, but a sponsor can also I'll ask you, Chris, why would anybody want to sponsor an event?
Just to get their face in front of those guys.
Yeah, because that's their customers, yeah? Yeah. So with your services or with your products, with the products that you deliver or the service you deliver, can you help the sponsor get more of those clients?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why wouldn't they be a client as well?
Yeah.
And they are a much easier client to get than the people sitting in the room. Because they're there wanting to do business with the people that you want to do business with. Yeah. So why not turn them into a client? And let me tell you, it is much easier to do that because they're there presenting, then they're going to be talking their backsides off, letting you know how great they are. and they'll tell you how wonderful things are and what they're doing and the innovation and ideas and you can also, and if they're not a potential prospective client for you, they're a great person to ask questions. What do you think of this group? What do you normally get out of something like this? Where do you see the value, the benefit? So you're asking strategic questions. So then they'll give you information about, well, look, to us, one of these people are worth, 20 grand or 50 grand or 100 grand. Yeah. So that person's telling you that the people in that room will spend between $20,000 and $100,000 on services. Yeah. So I think I'm sitting in the right room. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the idea is this is a very non-threatening approach. You're almost forced to talk to people. One of the things that I would encourage freelancers to do, and I don't think they do this often enough, is make sure, and I know some people say, well, I've done that, or I might have done this in a particular format. But one thing that I find, if you want to get lots of business and lots of business quickly, is go and talk to the people you know, acquaintances, friends, associates, and say, look, I just want to let you know what I'm doing. Right? Yep. If you're targeting a particular niche, let them know you're targeting a particular niche. And say, look, if you know anybody that needs help with my services, do you mind getting to give me a call? Right? I did this strategy with one of my consultants the other day. He didn't believe me that this was going to work. Right? He went and printed some referral cards. I'll share some examples of referral cards that I have. He went and printed some referral cards, went to his family, friends, associates, colleagues, people in business that he knew, and said, look, I'm just letting you know what I'm doing. Here's what I'm offering. If you know anybody that may be interested, can you just give them this card and get them to give me a call? Right?
Yeah.
That's it. Those cards went out a few weeks ago. He's already had 3 referrals.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Because he's explained to the people who know, do you mind helping me out if you know anybody, right? Now, this doesn't have to be related to a niche, by the way. You could just say in general, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm helping people with. This is how I help people. If there's anybody that you know that needs this sort of help, do you mind handing this card out?
Yeah.
And give them 3 or 4 cards. The worst thing that can happen, it'll be horrible if you actually get some business.
Absolutely.
So I guess I know that we've gone a little over time here, but
we're going to have to draw to some kind of conclusion. I mean, John, I'm going to get you on again because I know that you've got tons more information. We're going to have to draw it to a close there, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was my pleasure, Chris. If they want some free ideas, they can always visit makeeverydayapayday.com.
Fantastic. And please let us know how you've got on with those.